My father told everyone I was a thief. He didn't know I owned 8% of the company he tried to marry me into my name. Is Lila Bennett. I am 32 years old, and 3 weeks ago, an HR manager ended an interview by telling me to ask my father why no one would hire me. It was 11:40 in the morning. Conference Room B at the Mercer Holdings satellite office. 6 interviewers sat across from me, their expressions carefully neutral. I had prepared for 2 weeks. I had answered every question with precision. My portfolio sat between us: 5 years of freelance work, flawless references, a graduate degree with honors. I could feel it in the air. This was finally the one that would stick. Then the senior HR manager leaned forward. His tie was burgundy. I remember that. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. Ask your father why everyone thinks you are a thief. The room went silent. One recruiter shifted in her seat, suddenly fascinated by her notepad. Someone else closed a leather portfolio with a soft snap. No one would meet my eyes. What none of them knew, what my father didn't know, was that I legally owned 8% of Mercer Holdings. I had owned it since I was 17 years old. If you have ever been sabotaged by someone who was supposed to protect you, this story is for you. Let me take you back 15 years. November 3, 2009. I was 17, standing in a black wool coat at my grandmother's funeral. Eleanor Mercer. The woman who had taught me chess, who would let me sit in board meetings. She died of a stroke at 68. The cemetery overlooked the sound. Wind cut through the gathering. My father's hand was heavy on my shoulder as we watched the casket lower. When everyone else had left, he finally spoke. Your grandmother had unrealistic ideas about you. I looked up at him. What do you mean? She thought you were special. Thought you could run a company someday. He said it like an insult. You cannot. We drove home in silence. What I didn't know, her attorney had called 3 times that week. Marcus Webb, urgent voicemails about provisions. Eleanor made specifically for you. My father deleted them all before I got home from school. One afternoon I caught a message, mid-play. It is critical we speak directly about your inheritance. My father walked in. I will handle that, deleted. I trusted him. Why wouldn't I? Fast forward 6 years, 23. Fresh MBA rejection still stinging. A Stanford consulting firm offered me a position. 48 hours later, they rescinded it. Discrepancies in your background check, the hiring manager said, uncomfortable. Apologetic. We have to be thorough. My internship had been flawless. But when I tried to ask questions, he had already hung up. That night, my father barely looked up from dinner. Maybe now, you will learn to respect us. I internalized it. Spent the next year convinced I would somehow failed. Then it happened again. And again. Over 7 years, 12 offers vanished after mysterious background check concerns. I kept a spreadsheet tracking the pattern: initial enthusiasm, then silence, then vague excuses, same cycle every time, but I kept pushing. Got my MBA, $148,000 in loans, perfect GPA. Built a portfolio that should have opened doors. The doors kept slamming shut. At 28, the marriage pressure started. 7:15 p.m. at the Fairmont Country Club. My mother had insisted I dress nice. I arrived to find my father, with Daniel Hale Construction, magnate's son, polite. Handsome. But rehearsed. Like everyone had a script, except me. 20 minutes in, I excused myself. Coming back, I heard them by the bar cut off her options. My father was saying to Daniel's father, another few months, and she will agree to anything. Daniel's father chuckled. Smart strategy. My mother's nervous laugh, but she didn't disagree. I stood there hidden by a marble column, and everything clicked. The rescinded offers. The LinkedIn connections who went silent. The background checks mysteriously flagged. The whispers at grad school reunions. People pulling back socially. One former classmate literally fled a coffee shop when she saw me. It wasn't me, it was design. He was systematically destroying every opportunity that might let me escape, building a cage disguised as protection. I walked out that night without saying goodbye. Started documenting everything. Dates, companies, hiring managers who had gone cold. I built a timeline spanning 7 years. The pattern was undeniable, but I had no proof he was behind it. And who would believe me? Your own father sabotaging you sounds paranoid. Sounds like something a failing person invents to avoid responsibility. So I kept applying, kept pretending, kept trying to be perfect enough that he would stop. He never stopped. He got bolder. By 32, I was drowning $6,400 in savings, $2,150 rent, 3 months from breaking my lease and moving home. Home, the thought made me sick. People thought I was difficult, unreliable. There were whispers I had stolen from somewhere, though I had never even had a real employer. My dating life was non-existent. Friends had evaporated. The worst part, I was starting to believe him, that maybe I really couldn't make it. That something fundamental was broken in me. That is what isolation does. Makes you doubt what you know for certain. Then came the night everything cracked open. By the time I turned 32, I was drowning in ways I couldn't even explain to people. The numbers alone were suffocating. Student loans, $148,000. My MBA had cost me everything. Federal loans at 6% interest. Private loans at 9%. Monthly payments that ate half my freelance income. I had consolidated twice, deferred once. I was running out of options. My savings account had $6,400 in it. That is it. After a decade of working, scraping, hustling $6,400, my apartment cost $2,150 a month. Studio in Hartford, 400 square feet. The bathroom door didn't close all the way. The refrigerator hummed loud enough to keep me awake, but it was mine, or it had been. I was 3 months from having to break the lease and move back home. Home, the thought made my stomach turn. I had a spreadsheet. Of course I had a spreadsheet. I tracked every application, every interview, every promising conversation that led nowhere. 12 rescinded offers over 7 years. Same pattern every time. Enthusiastic first interview, call back for a second. Sometimes a third. Then silence, or worse, a polite email about concerns that arose during the background check, or references that didn't align with our expectations. I had asked once what the concerns were. They wouldn't tell me confidential, they said, but it wasn't just the jobs. It was everything else that came with being labeled. Friends had started pulling back around year 5. Subtle at first, canceled plans, unreturned texts, then more obvious, wedding invitations that never arrived. Group chats I wasn't added to. I ran into Sarah Cho at a coffee shop once. We had been close in grad school. She saw me, waved, then quickly looked away and left. Just left. Her coffee was still steaming on the counter. I found out later what people were saying, that I was difficult, that I had a reputation for being unreliable. One former classmate told me, carefully, that she had heard I had stolen from a previous employer. I never had an employer, I told her. She looked uncomfortable. That is just what I heard. My dating life had ceased to exist somewhere around year 3. It is hard to date when your own father will not vouch for you. When you cannot explain why you are 32 with an MBA and working freelance gigs that barely cover rent. One guy asked me point blank on a second date, "What is wrong with you?" Like, actually, because something doesn't add up. I didn't see him again. The real cost, though, the one that kept me up at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling, was the marriage trap closing around me. Daniel Hale, son of Robert Hale, construction magnate. Net worth somewhere north of $50 million. My father had arranged 6 dinners with him over 2 years, each one more pointed than the last. He is a good man, my father would say. Stable, successful. He could take care of you. I didn't need taking care of. I needed to be left alone to build my own life. But every door that closed made his offer look more reasonable. Every month that passed without income made my father's voice louder in my head. You cannot make it without this family. The worst part. I was starting to believe him, not about marrying Daniel. I would never do that. But about the rest. Maybe I really couldn't make it. Maybe there was something fundamentally wrong with me that everyone else could see. That is what isolation does. It makes you doubt the things you know for certain. I knew I was good at my job. I knew my work was solid. I knew I wasn't a thief. But knowing and proving are different things, and I had no proof. Not yet. 8:32 p.m. I walked into my parents' kitchen. My father was pouring scotch, the expensive bottle he saved for victories. I didn't sit. Just stood in the doorway. Did you call them? He looked up slowly. Call who? Mercer Holdings. My interview today. He took a sip, swirled the glass. I told them the truth. My hands shook. I gripped the doorframe. What truth? That you are a thief. The word hung there. Solid. Heavy. He said it like he was commenting on weather. I waited for him to laugh. To take it back. Nothing. I am not a thief. You need us. He set the glass down. The sooner you accept that, the easier this gets. I left without another word. Drove home with white knuckles on the wheel. Saturday in my parking lot for 20 minutes, staring at nothing. My phone buzzed. An email. From Evelyn Mercer, CEO. Mercer Holdings subject, we need to talk. I stared at the screen, then I went inside and didn't sleep. 3 days later, my mother turned 60. My father had planned everything. Private dining room at Riverstone Grill, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor. 12 guests, mostly his business associates and their wives. A few family members, people I barely knew. I almost didn't go. Had the excuse ready. Work deadline, headache, anything. But my mother called that morning. Please come, honey. It would mean so much. She sounded worn down. I couldn't say no. I wore a black dress. Simple arrived at 7 sharp. The room was already full of champagne and laughter. My father held court at the head of the table, mid-golf story. Everyone laughed on cue. He saw me. His smile didn't falter. Lila, glad you could make it. I sat at the far end, next to a cousin I hadn't seen in 5 years. Polite questions about work. Vague answers. The salmon tasted like cardboard. Then came the toast. My father stood, tapping his glass. The room quieted. He was good at this, commanding attention. He had built a career on it. I want to thank you all for being here tonight, he began. To celebrate not just my beautiful wife, but the values that hold a family together. Murmurs of agreement. Someone raised their glass. Family loyalty. Learning from past mistakes. He paused. Letting it settle. Understanding that reputation is everything. My stomach tightened. Some people learn these lessons the hard way. Another pause. But that is how we grow. Through accountability, a few glances my direction. Subtle, quick, but I caught them. I set down my fork, the sound echoed. What exactly have you been telling people, Dad? Pin drop quiet, muted music from beyond the door, someone's wine glass against porcelain. My father's smile stayed fixed. I am not sure what you mean, honey. About me. What have you been saying? Nothing that isn't true. What truth? My voice was calm. Steady, he sighed, like I was being difficult, ruining his wife's birthday with dramatics. That you are a thief. Gasps. Actual gasps. Someone's hand to their mouth. My mother went pale. Emily, my cousin, whispered. What? Another cousin leaned forward. Richard, what are you talking about? It is family business. My father's voice stayed smooth. I am just being upfront to protect us all. Protect us. I stood, still calm, still steady. Or protect you? Lila, sit down. You are making a scene. I think we are past that. I looked around the table. How many of you has he told that I stole something, that I am dishonest, that I cannot be trusted? Silence. Someone looked away. Answer enough. I picked up my coat. Thank you for finally saying it out loud. Dad. Now I know exactly what I am dealing with. My mother stood. Lila. Please, happy birthday, Mom. I am sorry he is doing this on your night. I walked out. Didn't run. Didn't slam doors. Just left behind me. What the hell was that about? My father's voice measured. She has been under stress lately. I am concerned about her judgment. I kept walking. In my car, hands shaking, I pulled out my phone. The email from Evelyn Mercer was still there. I opened it. Lila, I know your father. I knew your grandmother better. We need to meet tomorrow. 9 a.m. My office. There are things you need to know about your inheritance. Things he has kept from you. Evelyn, I read it 3 times, replied. I will be there. I drove home. Didn't answer when my mother called. Didn't read the cousin texts asking if I was okay. I sat in my apartment waiting for morning. 10:14 p.m. Another email arrived. From Evelyn Mercer. Subject. Prepare yourself, what you are about to learn will change everything. Your grandmother made sure of that. See you tomorrow. I didn't sleep that night, but for the first time in 15 years, I felt something besides defeat. I felt ready. I spent that night going through old boxes, my grandmother's things, photos, letters, a jewelry box from when I turned 16. I spread it all across my bed, looking for clues. One photo kept pulling me back. My grandmother in front of the Mercer building, opening day, 1983, navy suit. Hair pulled back. That smile that said she knew something you didn't. She had built that company from nothing. Secretary to owner in 20 years, bought out her bosses when they retired. By the time I was born, she had built an empire. I had asked her once, at 12, how she did it. I protected what mattered, she had said, and I didn't let anyone make me small. At the time, I didn't understand. Now, 2 a.m. in my apartment, I thought I might. I remembered one voicemail. Just one, before my father erased it. Marcus Webb's voice, urgent. Your grandmother made provisions specifically for you. It is critical we speak directly. Then my father walked in. I will handle that. End of conversation. What provisions? What had she left that he didn't want me to find? Evelyn's email glowed on my screen. I knew your grandmother better. Evelyn had been her right hand for 20 years, CFO. Then CUO. When my grandmother stepped down, she would personally chosen Evelyn as CEO. If anyone knew her secrets, it was Evelyn. The last line haunted me. Storms reveal foundations. My grandmother loved riddles. She would taught me chess with them. The queen protects the king by controlling the board. Maybe this was another riddle. Maybe the storm was here 15 years late, but finally here. Maybe I was about to discover what foundation she had built while I wasn't looking. I pulled out an old chess set she had given me. Opened the box. Inside, tucked under the board, a note in her handwriting I had never seen before. Lila, if you are reading this, you are ready. Trust Evelyn. She knows what to do. The power was always yours. I just kept it safe until you could claim it. Love, Grandma Eleanor. My hands shook. How long had this been here? Had I just never looked? I set my alarm for 6 a.m. for the first time in years. I slept without nightmares. Mercer Holdings headquarters sits on a cliff overlooking Long Island Sound. All glass and steel. The kind of building that makes you feel small when you walk up to it. I arrived at 8:45, 15 minutes early. The lobby was marble and chrome. Security desk staffed by 2 guards, who checked my ID twice before issuing a visitor badge. Top floor, one said. Elevator on the right. The ride up was silent, except for the hum of machinery. My reflection stared back at me from polished steel doors. I looked tired, scared. I forced my shoulders back. The doors opened to a reception area that could have been in a magazine floor-to-ceiling windows. Modern art on the walls. A receptionist who smiled like she had been expecting me. Miss Bennett, Miss Mercer, is waiting. Conference room 3. She led me down a hallway, through glass walls. I could see people working, hundreds of them. This company employed over 3,000 people nationwide. My grandmother had built this. The conference room was empty, except for one woman. Evelyn Mercer was in her 60s. Gray hair pulled back in a bun, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my rent. She stood when I entered. Her handshake was firm. Sit. I sat. She slid a manila folder across the table. Thick, legal documents visible inside. Your grandmother created an irrevocable trust, she said. No pleasantries, straight to business, 3 days before she died. November 1st, 2009. I opened the folder. pages and pages of legal text. My name appeared over and over. What is this? Your inheritance. She pointed to a paragraph. 8% of Mercer Holdings' founding stake. Current valuation, $38 million. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the table. That is impossible. It is legally binding. Ironclad. Your grandmother made sure of it. Evelyn sat back. The trust couldn't be accessed by family members. Couldn't be altered. Couldn't be contested. It activates fully when you turn 32. I turned 32 last month. I know. I stared at the papers. Numbers that didn't make sense. Legal language I couldn't parse. Why didn't anyone tell me? The trust specified strict conditions. I couldn't contact you directly until you either turned 32 or applied to a Mercer entity, whichever came first. She leaned forward. You applied 2 weeks ago. That started the clock. My father, your grandmother, knew your father. Her voice was flat, cold. She knew exactly what he would do. That is why she built the wall so high. She pulled out another folder thinner. 3 audio files on CDs inside, each labeled with dates. What are those? Your father, she said, calling HR departments. Defaming you. She loaded the first CD into a laptop, pressed play. My father's voice filled the room, professional, concerned. This is Richard Bennett. I am calling about my daughter, Lila Bennett. She has applied for a position with your firm. I feel obligated to inform you she has a history of dishonesty. I would strongly reconsider hiring her. I felt sick. The second recording. There were issues at her last position, misappropriation of resources. I am her father. I know this is difficult, but I cannot in good conscience let her deceive another employer. The third. She is not stable, not trustworthy. I am doing you a favor by warning you now. Evelyn stopped the playback. There are more. These are just the ones we documented. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. How long? We believe since you were 23, maybe earlier. We cannot confirm every call, but the pattern is clear. 7 years. He had been doing this for 7 years. Your grandmother built in another safeguard, Evelyn continued. Any time a Bennett applied to any company in the Mercer network, and we have partnerships with most major firms in the region, your name was flagged, routed to me. I have been tracking this for months. Why didn't you stop him? I couldn't, not without violating the trust terms, but I could document. And I did. She closed the folder. Next week is the quarterly board meeting. Annual Strategy Summit. 72 attendees, 18 board members. Press invited. What does that have to do with me? Your father is attending. Advisory board consultant. I felt something cold settle in my chest. We are going to play these recordings, Evelyn said, in front of everyone. Then we are going to announce your ownership stake. Then we are going to activate your board seat. I don't understand. Your grandmother didn't just leave you money, Lila. She left you power, she left you proof, and she left you the means to stop him. I looked at the folders, the documents, the evidence. What do I need to do? Evelyn smiled. It wasn't warm, it was sharp. Show up, and let me handle the rest. The Harbor Grand Ballroom. 72 people. Crystal chandeliers, floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking water. I wore my grandmother's navy suit, altered to fit. Her pearl earrings. Her watch. I needed her with me. I sat in the back row, anonymous. Just another attendee. My father was up front, laughing with consultants. Expensive charcoal suit, confident. In his element, he hadn't seen me yet. Evelyn took the podium at 9 a.m. sharp. The room quieted instantly. Good morning. Before quarterly review, we need to address governance. Specifically, ownership structure, murmurs. This wasn't on the agenda. Behind her, a screen lit up. My name in bold, Lila Bennett, 8% founding stake. Louder murmurs. People leaned forward, squinting. Someone pulled out reading glasses. My father turned, scanning the crowd. His eyes found mine. Color drained from his face. This stake was established November 2009. Evelyn continued. by Eleanor Mercer, founder and former CEO, in an irrevocable trust for her granddaughter. A board member raised his hand. 8%. That is significant. It is. Which is why we are addressing it now. Evelyn paused. Unfortunately, we have uncovered systematic interference. Corporate defamation designed to prevent the beneficiary from financial independence. My father stood, voice controlled. But I heard the edge. Evelyn, I am not sure this is appropriate. Sit down, Richard. He sat. Pin drop quiet. We have evidence. Evelyn pressed a button. The first recording played. My father's voice filled the ballroom. I am calling about Lila Bennett. She has a history of dishonesty. I would reconsider hiring her. Frozen silence. Someone's phone buzzed. They fumbled to silence it. My father stood again. This is out of context. Second recording. There were issues at her last position. Misappropriation. I cannot let her deceive another employer. A board member turned to look at him. Then another. Whispers. Third recording. She is not stable. I am doing you a favor. Evelyn stopped playback. The silence was deafening. These calls went to HR departments where Lila Bennett applied. Over 7 years, we have 12 documented instances. Likely more. My father's hands shook. I could see it across the room. She is my daughter. I was protecting her. Evelyn's voice cut ice. By destroying her professional reputation, by ensuring she couldn't get employed, by calling her a thief. Legal counsel stood, tall wire-rimmed glasses. Mr. Bennett, you have exposed this company to defamation liability. These recordings show malicious intent, documented conflict of interest, given your advisory role. I was protecting family interests. Your interests, Evelyn interrupted. Effective immediately, you are removed from your advisory position pending ethics investigation. This is insane. His voice cracked, sweating. You cannot do this. I can. The board was briefed this morning. Vote was unanimous. He turned to board members. You are listening to this? To her lies? Margaret Chen stood, senior board member, audit committee head. We reviewed the evidence, Richard. The recordings are authenticated. The pattern is clear. This is fiduciary responsibility. My father's face went red. She is manipulating you all. I stood. 72 faces turned, all looking at me. I didn't yell. Didn't cry. Just spoke clearly. I wasn't the failure. You fenced me in. Silence. Then clapping, slow. A board member in the front row, another joined. Then another. Not everyone, but enough. My father stared across the room at me. For the first time in my life, I saw fear in his face. Fear of me. Fear of what I would become. Fear that the daughter he tried to break had just walked into his world and taken it. Evelyn cleared her throat. Miss Bennett, join us up front. I walked down the aisle, past consultants who wouldn't meet my eyes. Past board members nodding respectfully. Past my father. He grabbed my arm. You are destroying this family. I stopped, looked at his hand, then his face. Number. I am just refusing to be destroyed by it. I pulled free, kept walking. Evelyn handed me a folder at the podium. Board appointment documents. The board welcomes Lila Bennett as our newest board member and 8% stakeholder. The applause was louder now, more genuine. A few people stood. I looked out at the room. Press taking notes. Board members who had witnessed my father's public disgrace. My father himself standing alone, looking smaller than I had ever seen him. He left before the meeting ended, grabbed his briefcase, walked out. No one stopped him. No one followed. I stayed for everything. Every presentation. Every quarterly report. Every strategic initiative. I had 8% of this company. I wasn't going anywhere. The cease and desist was filed within 24 hours. Evelyn's legal team moved fast. 10 pages detailing every documented defamation instance, every recording, every witness. It barred my father from contacting any hiring manager, HR professional, or recruitment agency regarding me. Ever. Violation meant criminal charges. He called that night, 10:30 p.m. I had been expecting it. 3 rings before I answered. You have humiliated this family. Voice tight, controlled rage underneath. Number you did. You have no idea what you have done. I know exactly. I was at my window, looking at city lights, calm, centered. I took back what was always mine. That company is my legacy, it was Grandma's. You were borrowing it, silence, his breathing. Your mother is devastated. You have destroyed her reputation. Mom had 32 years to stand up for me. She chose you, more silence. Different tactic incoming. I can fix this. We can negotiate number. Lila, be reasonable. I will not negotiate my independence. I hung up, he called back twice. I didn't answer. My mother called the next morning. I let it ring 4 times before picking up. Lila, her voice was small, broken. Your father is, I know what he is, Mom. He says he was protecting you. He was controlling me. There is a difference. She started crying. Soft, quiet sobs. I should have said something. Years ago, when I first suspected, I closed my eyes. Yeah, you should have. I am sorry, 2 words. 15 years too late, are you? I asked. Or are you sorry you got caught? That is not fair. None of this was fair. My voice stayed level. You laughed when he plotted to trap me. At the club, I heard you. I didn't know he was you knew enough. I took a breath. I need space. Don't call for a while, Lila. Please, I hung up. Apologies don't erase years of silence. 2 weeks later, the trust dividend hit my account. $1.2 million. Annual payout. The number just sat there on my phone screen. I paid off my student loans that afternoon. All $148,000. Watched the balance hit 0. Felt something loosen in my chest. I didn't know was tight. Paid 3 months' rent ahead. Bought groceries without checking my account. Donated to 3 charities my grandmother supported. The money wasn't the point. It never was. The point was breathing. The point was space. The point was never hearing you need us again. Daniel Hale texted 3 days later. I heard what happened at the summit. I had no idea what your father was doing. I was clueless about all of it. I am sorry if I added to the pressure you were under. I stared at the message for a full minute, then replied, Thanks, I believe you. Moving on now, he wrote back immediately. If you ever want to grab coffee, no agenda. Just to talk, I owe you that much. Maybe someday. Not now. Fair enough. Take care of yourself, Lila. That was it. Clean, simple. He didn't push. I appreciated that. Sarah Cho reached out 5 weeks post-summit. The classmate who had fled the coffee shop when she saw me. I heard about the board meeting. I am sorry I believed the rumors. I should have asked you directly instead of just disappearing coffee. We met the next week, she apologized. Explained what she had heard: theft, instability, dishonesty. Most traced to my father. I should have known better, she said. You didn't have all the information. Now you do. It was a start. Small, imperfect. But a start. The first article ran in the Regional Business Journal, 3 days post-summit. Mercer Holdings board restructuring. Advisory member removed amid ethics concerns. They didn't name my father directly, just a long-time consultant with familial ties to founding members. But in our town, everyone knew. I watched the story spread. LinkedIn, industry newsletters. By week's end, his name attached to misconduct and investigation. He called again. I didn't answer. My mother called. Voicemail. People are asking questions. At church, at the club. I don't know what to tell them. Her voice strained. Exhausted. Please call me back. I didn't. Within 2 weeks, my father resigned from the Rotary Club board. Then Community Foundation. Then Chamber of Commerce. Quietly. No press releases. No explanations. Just gone. Through a cousin, I heard he had told people he was stepping back for family. But truth was simpler. No one wanted him anymore. The man who had built a reputation as a community pillar had burned it in one boardroom. My mother stopped going to book club, stopped hosting dinners. 8 years chairing a charity committee, they just stopped calling. No explanation. I didn't feel good about that. This wasn't revenge. I never wanted to destroy my parents' social life, but I also wouldn't protect their reputation at the cost of mine. Not anymore. 3 months later, my father's consulting dropped 60%. Evelyn kept tabs. People talk. No one works with someone who sabotages his own daughter. One former client reached out to me, wanted to verify the allegations. I sent him the recordings, never heard from him again. My father lost that contract a week later. Defamation settlement talks started that month. His lawyer argued he had been a concerned parent with reasonable grounds. My lawyer played all 12 recordings. We had found 12 now. More companies came forward after the story broke. Settlement talks collapsed. We moved toward litigation. Daniel sent flowers to my office. No card. Just flowers. Some people understand when words aren't enough. His father had withdrawn the marriage arrangement 2 weeks post-summit. Just a text to my father, moving in a different direction. I ran into Daniel months later at a networking event. He approached carefully. "Can I buy you coffee?" No agenda. Just to apologize properly. We sat in a Starbucks corner booth. He explained he had thought our fathers were networking, creating professional opportunities. No idea about the sabotage. I wouldn't have played along if I had known. For whatever that is worth, it is worth something, and I meant it. We parted as acquaintances, not friends, not enemies. Just two people who had been caught in someone else's game. 6 months post-summit, I took my official board seat, surreal, that long table. 18 members. My nameplate. Lila Bennett, board member. I had prepared for weeks, read 5 years of quarterly reports, studied strategic initiatives. I wouldn't be dead weight. My first motion, Ethics Oversight Committee, Independent Hiring Review, Whistleblower Protections, Regular Audits, Unanimous Approval. Margaret Chen approached after. "Your grandmother would be proud." I didn't cry. Close though. The town perception shifted around month 7. LinkedIn requests from former classmates. Emails from old colleagues. Event invitations I had never gotten before. I was selective. Didn't forget who would stood by me versus who hadn't. But I tried giving people grace. Most had just believed what they had been told. Some genuinely apologized. Hard conversations, necessary ones. Others pretended nothing happened, acted like we had always been friends. Those people arm's length. 1 year later, my father faced additional investigation. 2 former employees came forward, both women. Same pattern: initial success, then mysterious obstacles, then stagnation. Both worked where my father had influence. One reached out directly. "I saw your story. I think he did this to me too." We met for coffee. Her story mirrored mine eerily, promising career. Sudden roadblocks, whisper campaigns. She had left the industry entirely, started over. I thought I was paranoid. But you proved it was real. I connected her with Evelyn's legal team, then with the second woman. They are building a class action now. Pattern of harassment. Don't know if it will succeed, but at least they are heard. I used part of my dividend to establish the Eleanor Mercer Scholarship. Full ride, any accredited university. Preference for first-generation students. No strings, just merit and need. The first recipient was 17. Brilliant, determined, hungry, capable, convinced she could change the world if given a chance. We met over coffee. I told her about my grandmother, about legacy, about protecting what matters. "Why me?" she asked. "My grandmother saw something in me no one else did." "I see it in you," she cried. Then I cried. Messy, but real. My mother relationship is complicated now. She calls occasionally, I answer sometimes. We discuss safe things, weather, extended family. Never my father, never what happened. She sent a birthday card this year. Just a card, no gift. "Happy birthday, love Mom." I sent a thank you text. It is not forgiveness. I am not there yet. Maybe never will be. But it is acknowledgement. We are both figuring out what relationship is possible after everything broken. 6 weeks ago, she left another voicemail. Different tone. "I have been seeing a therapist. She is helping me understand how I enabled him. How my silence hurt you. Long pause. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted you to know I am trying to do better. I love you. I saved the message. Haven't responded yet. Don't know if I will, but I saved it. My father and I don't speak at all. Small town, we cross paths occasionally. We look through each other. He is older now, grayer, diminished somehow. Don't know if that is real or just how I see him differently. I don't hate him. Thought I would. Mostly I feel nothing. He is just a man who made terrible choices, now he lives with them. The company thrives. Record profits last quarter. New sustainable energy initiatives. I chair ethics now. We have implemented protections company-wide. Not perfect, but better. Late nights. I sit in my office corner office, 17th floor, harbor view, and think about my grandmother. About the woman who saw the future clearly enough to protect me from it, who trusted I would be strong enough to claim what was mine when the time came. Her photo on my desk, opening day, 1983. That knowing smile. I like thinking she is looking at me. At this future she built, at the woman I became because she refused to let me be small. Thank you, I tell the photo sometimes. I think she knows. I am sitting in my office now. Corner office. 17th floor. Windows on two sides. One overlooks the harbor where my grandmother used to take me when I was little. The other faces the city where I spent 15 years trying to prove I wasn't broken. There is a framed photo on my desk. My grandmother, standing in front of the Mercer building the day it opened in 1983, navy suit. Hair pulled back. That smile that meant she knew something you didn't. I think about her constantly, about the day she created that trust. 3 days before she died, she must have known her time was short. Must have known exactly what my father would do once she was gone. So she built a wall, not to protect the money. To protect me. The first lesson I learned from all of this. Control dressed as protection is still control. My father spent 15 years telling himself he was protecting me, protecting the family, making sure I didn't embarrass us or make poor choices or reach too high and fall. But protection doesn't sabotage. Protection doesn't destroy. Protection doesn't call you a thief to anyone who will listen. That wasn't protection. It was control. And control, no matter how it dresses itself up, is just another word for fear. He was afraid. Afraid that if I succeeded, I wouldn't need him anymore. Afraid that I would build something bigger than what he had built. Afraid that I'd prove him wrong about who I was capable of being. So he tried to keep me small. And when I wouldn't stay small, he tried to break me. The second lesson, silence protects abusers. For years, I stayed quiet. Internalized the shame, told myself that if I just worked harder, proved myself more, it would stop. It never stopped. It got worse. Because abusers don't stop when you earn their approval. They stop when you stop accepting the abuse. When you speak the truth out loud. When you refuse to carry their shame anymore. I spent 15 years being quiet, being accommodating, being the perfect daughter who never caused problems. And I was miserable, broke, isolated, drowning. The moment I spoke up, the moment I said no, this isn't okay, everything changed. Not because the world suddenly saw the truth, but because I finally stopped hiding from it. The third lesson, and this is the one my grandmother knew: legacy isn't what they leave you. It is what they trust you to guard. My grandmother didn't just leave me money. She left me a choice. She could have given me cash, set up a traditional inheritance. Something my father could have contested or controlled or negotiated. Instead, she gave me power. Real power. The kind that cannot be taken away. 8% of the company she built. A seat at the table. A voice that matters. And she trusted that when the time came, I would use it wisely. I like to think I have. If someone is shrinking your world on purpose, if they are sabotaging your opportunities, controlling your narrative, cutting you off from support, it is not love. It is not protection. It is not what is best for you. It is control. And you deserve better. You are not difficult. You are not too much. You are not asking for things you don't deserve. You are inconvenient to someone who benefits from your silence. I don't know what my father tells himself now. Maybe he still thinks he was right. Maybe he has convinced himself I betrayed the family. Maybe he genuinely believes he was the victim in all this. I don't care anymore. Because I know the truth. I am not a thief. I never was. I just took back what was always mine. My grandmother knew that 15 years ago. She knew I had need it. She knew I had fight for it. She knew that when the storm came, I would have the foundation to weather it. She was right. Have you ever uncovered a truth that changed everything? Something that made you see your whole life differently? Something that made you realize the people you trusted most were the ones holding you back? Tell me below. I would love to hear your story, because stories like ours, they matter. They remind people they are not alone. They show that speaking up is possible, that change is possible, that you are not the problem, and you never were.